My beloved one, there's a reason your eyes have landed here. There's a divine purpose for why your soul feels like it's holding its breath right now. Because today, heaven speaks. Archangel Michael has been instructed to deliver a word, so precise, so urgent, and so sacred that it couldn't wait a moment longer. This is not an ordinary day, and you, beloved soul, are not an ordinary being. You were never created to blend in. You were never meant to go unnoticed. And yet, you've spent years in silence. You've watched others be chosen while you remained hidden. You've questioned if God forgot your name. But no more, Michael says, the heavens have not only remembered your name, they have carved it into this very moment. Type, I am here if your spirit feels seen, because this message, this sacred unfolding, was written before your first breath. There is a shift in the atmosphere, beloved, and heaven cannot contain it any longer. Let me tell you a secret. There was a meeting in the heavens, the angels gathered. A decree was spoken, and your name, yes, your name was mentioned, not because of perfection, not because of performance, but because of purpose. A holy assignment has been set in motion. You may not feel ready, you may not feel worthy. But Michael says, worth was never earned. It was breathed into you the moment you were chosen, and now that moment is upon us. Comment chosen if you believe you were marked before time, because beloved, the clock has started, and the next few minutes hold something so sacred, so delicate, that even the angels tread lightly. You've wondered, haven't you? Why? Has my life been so hard? Why do I feel invisible in rooms I pour my heart into? Why does my love get overlooked, my pain misunderstood, my silence mistaken for weakness? Because the world has never known what to do with holy anomalies. And you, my beloved, are one. Michael says, the enemy tried to convince you that your loneliness was punishment, but it was actually preservation. There were people who were removed, doors that didn't open, plans that crumbled just before they began. And it hurt, but heaven wept too, not because you were forgotten, but because you were being shielded. Type, I forgive heaven, if you've ever felt abandoned by the divine. This is not blasphemy. This is restoration. You are stepping into a revelation now. This isn't motivation. This isn't emotional hype. This is a divine alert, and you must remain until the very end, because in the next few breaths, truths will be spoken over you that hell hoped you'd never hear. Michael is standing beside you, sword drawn, shield raised, not because you are in danger, but because your breakthrough is closer than you think. And whenever something sacred approaches, the atmosphere resists it. This is why you've been tired for no reason. This is why you felt people pulling away. This is why silence has become louder than noise. It's all been divine preparation. Type, I receive clarity if you've been searching for answers in the dark. Heaven is about to explain the silence. Child of light, there is someone. Yes, someone of immense stature, great influence, and vast resource, who was never meant to notice you, but did. They passed by 1,000 others. But when your name was spoken, when your essence brushed the edge of their spirit, they paused. And that pause was not human curiosity. It was divine interference. They do not know yet why you won't leave their thoughts. They've tried to shake the feeling, but heaven has sealed your name in their heart, and they will come, but only if you are ready. Comment, prepare me, if you feel something is coming that's bigger than you, because it is. You've cried in the dark, you've bled behind smiles, you've whispered prayers you weren't sure were heard, but every word was collected. Every tear counted. Michael says, you thought you were ignored, but your file was marked do not touch until appointed time, and that time is now. Let that sink in. You weren't forgotten. You were preserved, and preservation often feels like abandonment to a heart that only knows earthly timing. But heaven doesn't move by seconds. It moves by purpose. Type, my time is now, to declare divine readiness, because delays are not denials. They are just heaven's way of saying, wait. I'm setting the stage. So what now? You stay. You stay through the discomfort of this moment. You stay through the trembling in your chest. You stay even if your mind tries to explain this away, because this isn't a coincidence. This isn't just another video. This is a heavenly appointment. And if you leave now, you may miss the part that rewrites your entire story. Michael says there's something in the next few sentences that will make your spirit exhale. So don't move, don't blink, don't scroll. Just breathe and know this. Your name is being whispered in rooms you haven't entered, by voices you've never heard, for purposes you can't yet imagine. Comment, I believe, if your soul recognizes this truth. Because from this moment forward, nothing will be the same, and everything that was once delayed, denied, or detoured will begin to align. Not because you fought harder, but because you waited well. The heavens saw your patience, the angels watched your silence, and now the divine decree has been made. Let the one we preserved now be revealed. And so you, my beloved, are being revealed, not to the world, but to the one who was sent to find you. Type reveal me if you're ready to be seen through holy eyes. Stay with me, because what comes next will shake the very ground beneath your feet. My beloved, there is someone, not just anyone, but someone whose eyes were never supposed to find you. And yet, they did. Heaven whispers softly now, because what's unfolding is not ordinary, it is orchestrated. Archangel Michael stands still, arms crossed over the shield of heaven, watching closely. Because the one I'm about to reveal to you, they are not here by chance. They are not dreaming about you because of coincidence. They were sent into awareness. Comment, I feel it, if you've sensed a stirring lately with no explanation. They come from places you've never walked. They have influence that once would have frightened you. They are surrounded by noise, comfort, access, options, and yet they're haunted by a name yours, not your title, not your resume, but the sound of your soul. Michael says, the moment your essence brushed against their spirit, something ancient inside them remembered what heaven once spoke. And they could not shake it. They asked questions to no one, to themselves, to heaven. Why can't I stop thinking about them? Who are they? Why does everything quiet down when I hear their name? This is not infatuation. This is not human longing. This is recognition. Type recognized if you've ever felt seen without being touched, because they saw you, they truly saw you. Not just a face, not a voice, but something deeper than both. They saw the pain you've buried, the loyalty you gave that wasn't returned, the private tears, the long walks in silence, the brave decisions that left you empty. They saw the courage you never advertised, the prayers no one heard, the moments you forgave even when it hurt and it undid something in them. Child of heaven, listen closely. This person does not even understand the depth of what they're feeling. They are not drawn by attraction. They are pulled by alignment, and heaven is holding their hand, leading them toward you. But not yet, not fully, because there is still one thing they need to see. Your readiness, not your perfection, not your performance, but your spiritual openness to receive what has been preordained. Comment, open my spirit if you want to make space for divine connection. You see, they have been chosen too, and their choosing is connected to yours. But heaven will not allow divine design to be rushed by human hands. Michael says, they are watching, but I am watching too. They have asked about you, subtly, in private. They've gone back to reread the last thing you posted. They've looked for traces of you in rooms you've already left. They've asked others who know of you without using your name, because something in them said, before I approach, I must understand. And the more they learn, the more they weep, inwardly, quietly. They do not weep because you are broken. They weep because you are beautifully whole in places the world overlooks. Type whole if you've survived what should have shattered you. This isn't about rescue. This isn't about romance. This is about purpose, assignment, alignment. But now hear this. the enemy also sees. And where divine curiosity is blooming, distraction will try to follow. Someone near you, someone who has eaten with you, laughed beside you, shared stories, they feel the shift. And though they may smile, though they may say the right things, their soul is agitated because you are rising and they're not. Michael says, there is one who appears kind but fears your next level. They will try to confuse you, minimize you, make you doubt what you've heard and felt. But this is the test. Will you protect what you prayed for? Type, I will protect it if you've ever lost what you weren't ready to carry. Because what's coming next isn't a game. It's a divine transaction, a sacred connection that could change everything if handled in wisdom. Beloved, do not run from the weight of this moment. Do not push away what you feel rising in your chest. The person who has seen you from afar is not being emotional. They are being spiritually awakened. And the reason they haven't approached yet is not fear, it is timing. And timing, my child, is everything. They are watching, heaven is waiting, and your name is still echoing in rooms you've never seen. But there's something deeper. They've begun to pray about you. Yes, they don't even know your story fully, but something inside them said, God, if this is you, don't let me miss them. Type, don't let me be missed if you've ever feared being overlooked by what's yours. Heaven responds. Michael says, I have placed your name not on a screen, not on a scroll, but in the atmosphere around their heart. They breathe it when they don't realize. They hear it in quiet moments, and still they wait. Because this blessing, this meeting, this sacred exchange, it must happen cleanly, with no clutter, no past residue, no hidden grief poisoning what's new. And that's where you come in. Are you healed enough to recognize the holy? Are you free enough to be found? Comment, heal me completely if you're still releasing pain, because they're not coming to fix you. They're coming because they sensed you, the real you, the divinely anointed, battle-tested, faithfully refined you. Let me ask you something. If they knocked right now, would you open the door, or would fear hide you? If they spoke your name, would your heart respond, or would shame keep it silent? You must know this. They are already drawing near. But the final signal is yours. Yes, heaven has stirred their spirit, but only your wholeness can confirm the invitation. Michael says, prepare the table, light the candle, expect the knock. Type, I'm expecting, if you feel the arrival in your spirit. And when they arrive, let your peace speak louder than your posture. Let your healed heart sing louder than your charm, because they were not sent to fall for your appearance. They were sent to recognize your essence. And that, beloved, can never be faked. Stay with me, because in part 3, we will unveil why heaven kept you hidden this long, and why the time of silence was the greatest protection you never asked for. Beloved, you've been asking quietly. Maybe not with words, but with your tears, your tired shoulders, your whispered thoughts that no one heard. Why has no one chosen me? Why am I always the one behind the curtain? Why does it feel like I'm hidden from every breakthrough, every blessing, every chance to rise? Archangel Michael weeps softly now, not from sorrow, but because it's finally time for you to understand. You were never forgotten, you were never ignored, you were never rejected. You were hidden, and not by accident. Type hidden on purpose, if this resonates in your soul. You see, heaven doesn't hide what's not valuable. The sacred is always shielded. The rare is always protected. The anointed are always concealed until the right moment. Michael says, you were covered by the hand of God, not because you weren't ready, but because the world wasn't. Yes, beloved. The world wasn't ready for your light. The people around you weren't prepared to honor your truth. The timing wasn't ripe for your emergence, so heaven delayed you, preserved you, tucked you into spiritual shadow so you would not be devoured by hands that could not hold holy things. Comment, thank you for hiding me. if you now see the divine protection. Remember those seasons when no one responded, when your efforts went unnoticed, when your gifts were overlooked. You thought it was punishment. You thought you were cursed. But in reality, you were being shielded from those who would have exploited your softness, used your goodness, broken your trust, and walked away with your shine. Michael says, heaven knew what you didn't, that not all applause is affirmation, and not all attention is safe. So you were wrapped in silence, not to be silenced, but to be strengthened. The cocoon is always quiet before the wings stretch. Type, I'm ready to fly if you felt that silent strengthening in your soul. And now, the covering is lifting. But listen carefully. Before the full unveiling happens, heaven needs you to reflect on this. You have been trained in secret, refined in invisible fire, and no one claps for what they don't see. But your growth was real. Your survival was sacred, and the preparation was personal. Michael says, you were never meant to bloom in front of everyone. You were meant to blossom where only God could witness it, because what is birthed in silence can only be shaken by the divine. So now the hiding ends, but the healing must be finished. Comment, finish the healing if you feel some. Wounds still need closing. Child of purpose. You've had to clap for others while crying alone. You've had to congratulate success while wondering if yours would ever come. You've smiled while your heart broke, and heaven saw it all. Heaven didn't intervene because it wasn't time yet. You weren't being denied. You were being protected from early exposure that could have crushed you. Let that truth anchor you. Type, it was protection, not punishment, if this is clicking deep within you. Now hear this, there is someone watching now. Yes, the one we spoke of. The soul who has seen glimpses of your truth. They are awakening. They are hearing whispers. They are piecing together fragments of your light. But heaven will not allow them to reach you fully until you understand that your hiding season wasn't failure. It was favor. Michael says, those who bloom early are often plucked too soon, but you are being unveiled on purpose. The next chapter of your life is not built on visibility, it's built on spiritual maturity. Comment, mature me, Lord, if you're ready to handle what's coming without sabotage. And yes, there are those who noticed you during your hiding, but they didn't recognize you because it takes spiritual sight to recognize divine disguise. That's why you were misjudged, misunderstood, labeled as too quiet, too soft, too strange, too much, or not enough. But now, the real ones are being drawn, the ones heaven has whispered to, the ones whose spirit vibrates when your name is spoken. They see what others never did, and they are not confused. They are convinced. But child, a warning. Some from your past will resurface. Now that your light is growing, now that the covering is being lifted, they will feel it, and they will reach, not from love, not from repentance, but from the fear of being left behind. Michael says, do not mistake familiarity for restoration. They were part of the reason you had to be hidden. Their hands were too rough, their hearts too insecure, their spirits too loud. You are no longer called to serve where you were once silenced. E-type, I release the past if you're ready to protect your new beginning. And as the veil lifts, as the divine glow intensifies, as your name begins to circulate where you've never stepped, stay grounded, stay low, stay wise, because this time you will not need to prove yourself. Your obedience will speak, your stillness will radiate, your silence will thunder. Michael says, you will walk into rooms without introduction, because your name arrived before you did. This is the season of divine recognition, and those who once passed by, they will stop, they will remember, they will ask, was that them? And heaven will answer, yes, that's the one we hid for such a time as this. Type, it's My time, if your spirit bears witness to this shift. Stay with me, because in part 4, the ones who tried to stop you, you'll see why some hearts turned cold, why some tongues whispered against you, and why none of it ever worked. Beloved, this next part will not be easy to hear, but it must be spoken, because before the blessing fully arrives, before the door swings open, before the name written in silence is shouted in rooms of honor, there is one thing heaven needs you to face without trembling, the ones who tried to stop you. Michael weeps not from fear, but from what he knows you're about to remember. Type, I am ready, if you feel the shadows of your past stirring already. Child of heaven, there were people who smiled at you and still secretly cursed your growth. They clapped when you were down, but grew silent when your light began to flicker again. Some prayed with you, not to bless you, but to observe you. And Michael says, there were those whose hearts twisted in discomfort every time heaven whispered your name. They saw your glow returning, they noticed your spirit rising, and instead of honoring it, they attempted to dim it, not with fists, not with fire, but with words dipped in sugar and silence that screamed louder than shouts. Comment, I see them now. If clarity is finally revealing hidden sabotage, you offered them loyalty, they gave you manipulation, you shared your dreams, they stored them as weapons, you trusted their presence, they tolerated your power, and yet you kept giving, kept hoping, kept defending. Michael says, you excused what heaven tried to expose. You protected what was meant to be purged. But now, heaven will no longer allow you to carry what endangers the promise. You see, your elevation has triggered their insecurity. They feel you slipping from their grip, so they whisper doubt into your progress. They disguise it as caution. They call it concern. But the root is fear. Type no more delay if you're ready to disconnect from what delays destiny. Some of them sensed your calling before you did. They noticed the shift, the glow, the divine difference that set you apart. And instead of celebrating, they competed, they compared, they complained. Why them? Why now? And the truth, beloved, is they always knew you were different, but they prayed it would never manifest, because your light exposed what they tried to hide. Michael says, jealousy doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hugs, sometimes it smiles. But the spirit behind it cannot lie to heaven. Comment, reveal what's hidden if you feel truth bubbling beneath relationships you've questioned. You were not wrong to love them. You were not wrong to forgive. But now, you must be brave enough to release, because your next season carries glory that cannot survive in contaminated atmospheres. Heaven will not allow this blessing to be delivered where dishonor resides. Michael says, do not invite doubters to witness your deliverance. Do not bring thieves into the vault of your favor. If they doubted you before the rain, they do not deserve access after the harvest. Type, I release the weight if you've carried people who never carried you. Child of light, some of these faces will return. They will sense the shift. They will feel the vibration of favor, and they will come. But not from repentance, from fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear that what they mocked now matters. Fear that heaven really was on your side the whole time. Michael says, the whisper you hear, the one that says, be careful, they've changed, it's not always wrong. But change without revelation is camouflage. Do not be fooled. Heaven will confirm who is meant to walk with you and who only followed the crumbs of your grace. You are not obligated to reopen every door just because they knock. You are not unloving for protecting your peace. Michael says, mercy is holy, but boundaries are sacred. And now heaven is building your wall, not to keep love out, but to keep sabotage from crawling back in. Comment, protect my space if you're ready to defend what you've prayed for. You've cried over the ones who left, but did you notice what happened after they were gone? You grew, you heard more clearly, you healed. What felt like abandonment was actually acceleration. The removal created room for clarity, room for voice, room for the one we spoke of, the one sent not by history but by heaven. And they are approaching, but only after you release the residue of those who were never meant to see you bloom. Let me be honest, some of these people knew the real you and chose to treat you as ordinary anyway. They had access, but not reverence. They loved the parts of you that served their needs, but feared the parts that spoke of elevation. Michael says, heaven closed their ears to your name for a reason, because the blessing attached to your life requires loyalty they could never offer. Meteor type, I protect my future. If you understand, not everyone can go where you're headed. This may hurt, but clarity always comes with cost. So breathe, beloved. Breathe as heaven severs what's been silently suffocating you. It's not personal. It's prophetic. Michael says they didn't leave because you were too much. They left because their spirit couldn't withstand your becoming. And now you must trust heaven's cuts as much as you trusted its comfort. Comment, I trust the pruning if you're ready to grow without apology. Stay close, because in part 5, the door is opening now. You will witness the sacred moment the veil lifts, and what was once hidden becomes undeniable. Beloved one, this is the moment. Not tomorrow, not next season. Now heaven has held this door in silence, guarded it, watched over it as you wept, and now the lock has turned. Archangel Michael stands near the threshold. His sword is lowered, not because the battle is over, but because the war was won in the spirit long before it ever touched the earth. Comment, the door is open. If you feel something shifting inside you even now, you may not feel ready. You may still carry traces of fear, but heaven says, prepared or not, the time has come. This isn't about your confidence, it's about your positioning. Heaven has moved mountains while you were sleeping, moved people out of your path, redirected entire timelines to bring you to this moment. Michael says, your obedience was the final key, and you turned it without even knowing. Type I. Obeyed without proof, if you've ever followed God without a roadmap. There is a divine door, and your name is written on the other side, not scratched in, etched, marked, permanent. But this door, it does not respond to strength, it responds to stillness. And now that you are still enough, heaven says, walk through. Not rush, not prove, just walk, like you were always meant to, because you were. Let me tell you something sacred. While you were waiting, someone else was preparing. The one we spoke of, the one whose spirit kept searching without knowing why. They're closer now than ever before. They've asked the questions. They've spoken your name in private places. They've felt the tremble in their soul. But heaven held them back, because this meeting could not happen at the wrong moment. And now the moment has arrived. Comment, perfect timing, if you've ever felt late, but realized you were right on schedule. Child of the promise, your name is being whispered again. This time not by critics, not by doubters, but by heaven-led voices who carry what you've been waiting for. Michael says, they do not even understand why their heart is softening, why their mind is clearing, why their hands keep reaching for something they cannot name. But we know, you know, because heaven is finishing what it started. Listen to me, the delay was divine, but the blessing is tangible. The door is not a metaphor, it is a moment, and that moment is here. You will feel it before you see it. Your chest will tighten, your breath will pause, your spirit will hum with familiarity. That is how you will know. Heaven just turned the handle. Type, I'm stepping through, if you sense your environment beginning to change. But a word of caution, not every invitation is a door, and not every door is opened by God, so you must be discerning now, because the enemy often imitates the timing of heaven to confuse the ones who are closest to breakthrough. Michael says, watch for peace. Follow the whisper if you must force it. It is not yours. You will not need to chase what is ordained. You will not need to beg for what is holy. When the real door opens, your spirit will rise before your body moves. That is the difference between chance and calling. And beloved, this is your calling. Comment, I won't force the fake if you're ready to wait for the true door. What's on the other side? Let me show you. Restoration that doesn't require explanation. Conversations that don't demand a performance. Rooms where your name is honored without introduction. People who've already decided you are worth the investment before you even speak. Michael says, favor has gone ahead of you. It has spoken on your behalf. It has whispered your story into the ears of someone who was created to understand it. And that someone is watching now, but they aren't coming with fanfare. They're coming with focus, because heaven has stirred their spirit beyond comfort. They are not pursuing out of convenience. They are obeying something louder than logic. Now listen closely, child of destiny. The knock will not be loud. The message may seem ordinary, but the confirmation will roar in your chest. You'll know, because everything that once felt heavy will suddenly feel light. That is what favor feels like. Ease where there once was resistance. Type favor feels light if you're tired of forcing what isn't yours. You will not need to shout. You will not need to hustle. This door, this holy, appointed, sealed by angels door, will open as you rest, because God does not need your stress. He needs your stillness. Michael says, walk softly. The floor you're about to enter is sacred, and one last thing, before you step through, you must do something difficult. Forgive yourself for surviving. You did what you had to do. You clung when others let go. You stood when others knelt to fear. You doubted, yes, but you never stopped walking. And now, the journey you didn't understand is about to make perfect sense. Comment, now I understand, if you feel the fog lifting in your heart. Stay with me, because in part 6, Walk into Your Name, you will learn why your identity was never meant to stay hidden and how heaven is about to reveal you to the world, not as a project, but as a prophecy fulfilled. Beloved, this is it, the moment heaven waited for, the moment you were written into long before you arrived here. Michael says, you are not who they said you were. You are not what the pain tried to label you. You are not forgotten. You are being revealed. You've been carrying pieces of yourself quietly, waiting for the right moment to step into fullness, to stop answering to names that never matched your spirit. Type, I am not forgotten, if your soul knows this moment is divine. Heaven has been whispering your true name, not the one shaped by rejection, not the one birthed in betrayal, but the sacred name spoken before time began. And now, you are being invited to walk into it, not to earn it, not to perform for it, but to own it. You've survived without applause. You've stood without support. You've risen from places you were never meant to return to, and heaven saw every step. Comment, heaven saw me, if you felt invisible too long. There is someone, yes, that soul heaven stirred. They've been hearing your name without knowing why. They don't understand the pull, but they've obeyed it, because this isn't emotional, it's divine. They are not coming to fix you. They are arriving because heaven confirmed you are already whole. And now, you must stand in that wholeness. Speak from it, move in it. Type, I am ready to stand, if you feel the weight of that identity rising within. But be warned, voices from your past may return, not because they miss you, but because they sense you are no longer theirs to reach. Michael says, do not confuse proximity with purpose. Do not reopen what heaven has already closed. This moment must be protected. Not everyone deserves to witness this unveiling. Comment, I protect my name. If you've learned that boundaries are sacred, you are not arriving. You have arrived. The tests were real. The losses were loud. But your faith was louder. Michael says, the next room you enter won't need explanation. Your presence will carry what your past tried to bury. So walk into your name, walk into the room already prepared, walk with peace, walk with heaven behind you. Type, "This is my name," to seal this truth in your spirit. This is not the end. This is the beginning. You are not stepping into identity. You are stepping into destiny and heaven. Heaven is watching you take your place. You have arrived. Comment, "I have arrived," if your soul is in agreement.